Hello, Squirrel Tribe 2.0. It is Tuesday, my dudes. Listen, I said I'm gonna try to do this 5 to 7 days this week, and I meant it. Today has been a fun day. The man and I went and hung out at the beach. Before that, we went and had breakfast and got to hang out. The kids' last day of school is on Thursday, and so we wanted to do just a little something, he and I, before it's the full family, just to have a couple extra little minutes of aloneness, he and I doing something just relaxing and enjoyable, which is breakfast, which is food, and then walking the beach. But while we were walking the beach, it turns out that something transpired yesterday while we were all here doing our Mimosa Monday live stream that I was not informed of until today. And I want to show you guys, because the man happened to be recording when this transpired. And I want to show this to you. And then I want to explain to you exactly where my mind went that his didn't go after this happened. And I don't know if it's a mom versus dad thing, or if it's a woman versus man thought process, or if it's because I am less trusting of men in general than a man might be. I want to show you guys this. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. And I'm just kind of... I could have like done that whole splice it together and edit it so it's all fancy and whatnot, but y'all know that's not my style. So today you're gonna watch it this way, and hopefully you can see it and hear it, because I do have my microphone on. So hold on.
You know, the pandemic really would have made things a little...
Hopefully y'all can hear this.
Sorry guys, I'm getting a little distracted here.
Let's try this again.
We got a visitor.
I'm gonna turn this up.
It's almost like it doesn't fail. I'm recording a video. There's always somebody.
Where's the speaker?
So this is gonna be...
Here we go.
One of those situations where this is hang on. So this is one of those situations where we're experiencing
That's Maxie Poo in the dog park there. Am I kidding?
You guys can see. This is one of those situations where we're experiencing what I would have described as the bum situation. So we've got an interesting situation here. He's looking at me like I'm out of place, sitting in my car recording, as he just took this bike and just threw it into the bushes here. Now, odds are he doesn't live here. Hey, there's Mary.
That's our friend Mary.
Odds are he doesn't live here. Now, I don't really want to create some sort of altercation here, but I don't think that he's quite all there. I don't think he's quite all there. But I just want to make sure he's not going to try to enter into the dog park area, which he doesn't belong. Like, he literally just, he rode his bike over here, or this bike. He stopped in front of my car, stood there and stared at me for a little bit, got off the bike, walked it up the curb, mumbled something, kind of, you know, I can guess what he said. I don't know for sure. Then he went over here. He's gonna ride this bike away. Now he's off to the races. And then he went over here, just threw it behind the transformer. And then, about 20 seconds later, he picked it up from behind the transformer and rode off into the sunset. I feel for him. I think he might fall into that category I was telling you guys about, where they're unfortunately under the influence of some mind-altering substances, and it's unfortunate.
Okay, so that's that. Okay. So that's that. By the way, let me fix my microphone majiggy here. So he doesn't tell me about this last night. The kid doesn't mention it when she gets back, because they went up there. They took Max up to the dog park while I did the Mimosa Monday live stream with you guys, and we talked about all the things we talked about, that whole transgender situation at the graduation with the allowed to wear a dress, but as a boy, girl, but not allowed to wear a dress, and then talking about the Ron DeSantis and the NAACP and all that funness. they didn't mention anything about it. So when he's talking about it, we're sitting at breakfast this morning and we're having a nice conversation, and he says, yeah, you know, it's kind of like the guy yesterday when I was trying to record out in front of the dog park, and he walks up and he's standing there or whatever. And I said, what are you talking about? So he shows me this. Now, ladies, mothers probably, I don't know if it's just women in general, but mothers for sure. I wonder if your first thought was the exact same thing as mine. My first thought was my child, my female daughter, was in that dog park. And my thought was that man may have been looking at him to see if he was paying attention to him before he went in there. He was probably going to try to go in there and talk to her or do something to her. That was my very first thought, because I don't trust older men. It's just that I don't do it. So I wonder if that was the thought process. And when he noticed that Kevin was watching him and Kevin wasn't moving and Kevin had a phone, if that's why he decided to pick up his bike and leave, as opposed to continue on his path, because he was walking towards that dog park. He stashed his bike behind a transformer where nobody would see it, and he was walking towards that dog park. And if Kevin had not been there, I wonder if he would have continued that journey on. So now I told him, I said, unfortunately, guess who's not allowed to go into the dog park without you or I? I know you're right there in front, and thankfully you're paying attention, but now, you know, she'll go down and she'll walk Max while he and I are up here, because I can see her from the balcony. She'll walk right to where I can see her. He'll pee, and then the Max will pee, not the kid. And then they'll come back in. Normally that's the thing. Hey, you know, whenever I'm busy or he's busy, I say, hey, walk your dog, because it's her dog. But now I'm like, I don't even know if I'm okay with that anymore. And what sucks is this isn't a bad area at all, but all it takes is that one person to make you literally question everything. So then my thought process is, what does that look like for other people and their kids and stuff like that, especially in more highly trafficked areas, especially for parents who don't have the ability to be at home when their kids get home? Or, you know, she used to want to ride the bus when the man and I both had corporate jobs. She wanted to ride the bus home, and I told her, no, I'm sorry, that's not an option. She's like, all I need is a key and I can go in on my own. I said, I understand what you can do, but I also understand what I will not allow you to do, because there's a walk from the bus to our house. Yes, you're passing houses in our neighborhood, but there's nothing to stop anybody from turning into that neighborhood. When she was in 5th grade and then in 6th grade, I was like, there's nothing to stop anybody from coming in here, from snatching you up, from whatever else. If there was a time where I could not get to the school to pick her up, I had either my mother or Kevin's mother go pick her up, or I would call my sister-in-law to pick her up. There was never an option where she was allowed to ride the bus home when I was not there. And I know that's not feasible for so many parents. And I wonder how parents deal with that. I'm going to say just parents, people who are raising children. Let me put it that way. It can be grandparents, it can be aunts, uncles, friends, foster parents, adoptive parents, which is still a real parent. However you want to phrase it. How do you work through that? Do you have those thoughts? Because this is me thinking out loud, because I'm kind of curious. Do you have those thoughts of anything could happen? I know when I was in middle school, not elementary school, but middle school, I rode the bus home by myself in 6th and 7th grade, but my neighbor was always there, and she always kept an eye out to make sure I made it home. And the second I walked in my door, I had to call my mother and let her know I was home, because there was no way she could get from downtown Atlanta back to where we lived in time to get me from school or meet me at the bus. It just was not feasible. So I would take the bus home. And then later on, I ended up going home with my friend to her house because she had a parent there at like all times. But I know with this day and age, I feel like it should be harder for things to happen to kids, because so many kids do have cell phones, and so many strangers are willing to record literally everything they see. If it looks weird, wrong, whatever, they're willing to record it. And I think that does probably save a lot of people in the long run from situations. But just that random thing of the guy with the bike yesterday now has me on edge where I live. And I'm like, I don't like that feeling. I don't like feeling like I can't trust that my kid can just walk out the door and walk her dog, or that she can go to the dog park with us, or I wasn't there, I was here with y'all, but with the man literally sitting right in front of it in his car. The good news is the only way into that dog park was the way that gentleman, I say gentleman because I don't know, he could have been perfectly fine. He could have been a great guy. I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. but that gentleman could have been going, you know, to see if there was a restroom, maybe see if he could get inside and get some water, maybe something else. Maybe he was not even trying to go that direction. But as a mother, as a parent, that is my very first thought, knowing that the way he came in, he could see the kid in there playing with the dog, the way he stood there and looked around, the way he then hid his bike, the way he looked back at my husband in the car to see if he was still there, to see if maybe he was looking at him, recording him, getting out of the car before deciding to get his bike and leave. Now, the man thinks that, you know, mind-altering drugs. There's a lot of people in our society who are on drugs or drink a lot or have mental checkouts, mental disabilities, if you will, mental just not all there-ness. And it's possible that was the case, but does that actually make it any better? Do you still want the person who may be on drugs or the person who may be drunk or the person who may have a mental issue that close to your child where anything could possibly happen? The kid always wants to do these things. She's like, I'm almost 14 and I'm almost grown and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the key word here is almost. The other thing here is she doesn't understand that society itself can be a very bad place. She does not understand, well, she does understand that people suck, that some people are just not good people. She has not encountered those people, but that's because her dad and I keep her from it. We don't keep her sheltered. I'm not a helicopter parent. I'm not a whatever else. I'd speak to her openly about everything. She has a question, I will answer it 100% honestly. I would rather her know everything ahead of time than wonder, you know what I mean? Then something happened and her have resentment because she didn't know that could happen, or that was an option that could happen, or that whatever else. I'm not going to sugarcoat things for her. I'm not going to let her live in a little bubble, because at 18, when she's old enough to go out on her own, I don't want her to be just ignorant of the world and ignorant of the kind of people that are in it. So I talked to her about absolutely everything. She probably didn't even know about the guy who rode up on the bike because she's in there playing with the dog, which also means I need to talk to her and say, hey, make sure that even though you're doing this with Max, you're playing or whatever else, you still need to be paying attention to anybody who's coming towards the space that you're in. Make sure you always understand who's around you, which we talk about all the time. But I know that she probably felt super safe and secure because her father was there, which I like that she has that feeling. I like that she knows that her dad and I will literally move heaven and earth and hell if necessary to keep her safe. You know what I mean? But when he mentioned that to me, y'all, my first thought was nefarious thoughts on that guy's part. And I mean, that's not necessarily true, but I would rather err on the side of caution personally as a parent and as a female in general than to immediately give the benefit of the doubt to someone in a situation that could go horribly wrong. And I know that's like a pessimist kind of thing, and I know that's a cold kind of way to think, but when it comes to my kid, I don't give a shit. I'm going to think how I need to think to ensure her safety. So if that guy happens to be watching YouTube and shows up on my channel and has any issues with what I'm saying, sorry, but it is what it is. So, yeah, it's one of those things where when the man was telling me about it, it was weird to me that he didn't look at it from the same point of view that I did. But I can also understand, because I don't know if most guys will think of those kind of situations immediately, whereas a lot of women will immediately be wary, immediately be nervous, immediately be cautious of situations like that. There's a difference, and you know, there's guys out there like, oh my God, you're overreacting. Cool, well, you're not a female, so you literally have no say in how I react or don't react. There's people out there, because I asked a question over on the main channel one day about, no, it was here. I put the community post on this one about, as a woman, how walking down the street can be a fearful thing. And there's women who's like, I've never been worried. Yo, boo, good for you. I'm very happy that you've never, ever had to deal with any of that kind of stuff, because I've never in my personal life met a female who has not at some point in her life been worried or scared or anxious about a situation that she's been in. Saying no to a guy, because sometimes guys flip their shit and they can harm you. Saying, you know, not replying to a cat call because then it turns into derogatory words, or being in an elevator with some random male stranger. Like it can be concerning for a female, and a lot of guys don't understand it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the guys not understanding it. It just means they haven't been in those situations, and thankfully they're not that kind of guy. If you've never been in it and you don't understand it, it's because you're not a bad person, which thank you for not being the shit stain of society like those kinds of guys are. But that's just, that situation has me on alert for that guy. Now I find myself, I'm sitting by the window. Normally I record in the kitchen, you guys know, but now I'm sitting here with my blinds up and I'm just keeping an eye out, because now we have an open apartment complex, meaning you can drive from the front all the way through and out the back. There's nothing to stop you from getting into the apartments. The buildings themselves, though, they are locked down. We have to have a key fob to get in, and those doors lock the second you close them behind you. You're not getting in without a key fob unless somebody lets you in, which most people here are not going to do. It's a very military area. They're not going to let you in. So I feel safe in the building, but now I feel like I need to keep an eye out on the outside for a while just to kind of ensure that it's a little safer, that one guy may be a knockoff or a one-off of a situation or whatever else. But there's homelessness absolutely everywhere. There's homeless people, you know, right across from the apartments. I've seen homeless people. They're everywhere you can possibly go. I don't think there's any city who is immune to homeless people. I don't think there's any city who's immune to people with drug addictions, to people with mental issues. I don't want to say, I said disability earlier, and that feels incorrect. I would say mental issue, because I feel like there is a difference between a disability and an issue, although issues also are causing disabilities. I don't know how to phrase that one, but there's no areas that are immune to any of it, unless you're like in a Stepford Wives kind of thing. And even that right there, I mean, that whole thing that's a whole mental issue right there. But I feel the need to pay attention. And so I kind of just wanted to bring this to you. And I know this isn't one of those happy-go-lucky, like normal videos, which I would love to do for you today, but my mind isn't there right this moment. So you're going to get what my mind is doing, which is what this is. But I would say, especially with summer coming up, I mean, the kids are out of school here in a couple days. Other states are already out of school. I would say make sure you just keep an eye on your kids, keep an eye on everybody else's kids. I do believe that it takes a village. If you see something, say something. I believe in all those kind of things. So if you see something that looks incorrect, looks wrong, be the person that steps in and says something or does something, not the person that stands back and records it to see what happens. And then by then it's too late. You know, yes, the people recording do come in handy when police are needed, but the person who is willing to step in and stop something is really the hero in the long run of things. So just keep an eye out. When you're driving, pay attention. Kids are going to be out in the streets playing, you know, soccer and basketball and just running and riding bikes. Pay attention when you're driving. Stay off your phones while you're driving. Don't speed through neighborhoods or anything else. What else was I going to say? Oh, and I know this is going to sound super Karen, but girl, I don't care. When you go to places that have little children around them, don't smoke around them. It's not fair to those kids. If you want to smoke, knock yourself out. I used to do it. I understand. It's an addiction. That's really all it is. It's a thing that as soon as mentally you can tell yourself that you're stronger than it, you can quit it. But if you need to smoke, try not to do it around little kids. It's not cool to get all those chemicals in their system. They didn't ask for it. Also, I would say personally, don't be like a raging asshole or cussing or playing all kinds of just derogatory music around little kids. I've never really understood that. Even me in my car, if I happen to be listening to rap or something else like that, if I pull up to a red light, I immediately turn it down in case there's a car near me who has their windows down with their kids in it. And then there's going to be people out there going, that's their problem, not mine. Yeah, but if we all made it a little bit of our own problem, maybe things would be a little bit better all around instead of saying, well, their fault, their problem, not mine. That's I don't know. That's just me. That's just me. So those are my tips for this Tuesday. I love you all. Thanks for hanging out here. I would like to know your thoughts on that whole situation. Am I reading too much into it? As a parent, do you see it the same way? As a female, do you see it the same way? As a guy, would you have thought the same thing, knowing that there was a child and a dog inside that area where the guy was initially headed? Like, just curious your thoughts on that. It's the throwing the bike behind the transformer and then turning around to look at my husband that I was like, that part threw me off a smidge, and then picking the bike up and going away immediately. Also kind of weird. I'm not quite sure what to do with all that. So that's it. I love you all immensely. I will see you here again tomorrow for Hump Day, my dudes. You'll have a good rest of your Tuesday. Love you. Bye.